attracted to each other at the party. That was obvious. You're on your own for the night. That's also obvious.
You know, I don't think I like this.
Like what?
The way you run away after every time we make love.
Is this what you want to talk about, our imaginary love affair?
I'm pregnant.
That was great. Thank God.
I went over to London, and I had called ahead and asked agents of writers and directors if they had anyone they wanted me to see. And I put myself into a hotel room, and over the course of about 5 or 6 days, anybody who wanted to could come to see me. And the only thing I asked was, please send me a copy of something they've done or a script they've written. And among the things that I received were 3 short films by James Dearden, one of which was a film that he had done for the BBC. And I loved all 3, but I especially loved that. And I sent it back to Sherry, and she reacted the same way I did.
So we called him and told him how much we enjoyed the 3 short films that he had done, and asked him to come to California to meet with us so we could figure out if there was something else that he could write for us. And I kept coming back to that short film. And that short film really ends when, it wasn't Glenn Close, but the Glenn Close character calls the home and the wife reaches for the phone. And that's all that the short is. It's just the hint of the movie. And I remember being kind of obsessed with that short film and saying, I think there's a movie there.
And so we arranged to option it, and then from it we extrapolated what was to become the film Fatal Attraction.
We had 3 days of meetings with James, and we kept talking about ideas and tossing out different ideas. And I said, well, what if she's pregnant? And he said, wait a minute. He said, wait. And then he started to lay out the whole rest of the story.
Sherry Lansing and Stanley Jaffe asked me to look at a short film that an English writer, cameraman made called Diversion. And at the same time, they were working on a script called Fatal Attraction.
I have to say, from the very first draft on, I just loved it. I think we all did.
Well, the wonderful thing about the screenplay is that it was a page-turner.
I read it from cover to cover, and when I finished reading it, I was kind of chilled. I think I'd concentrated so hard.
Concept hooked me from the beginning. Early script did too. I looked at it and saw that it had that initial archetype feeling of Everyman, you know, a what if.
We felt if this picture were to be successful, it had to be about anybody sitting in the audience. Could happen to you. And Michael plays the any man better than anybody I know.
They worked together, and we just sat together, I think it was like about 6 months, if I'm not mistaken, working on drafts with the writer James Dearden.
It was a Paramount picture. It was developed by Paramount because our deal was at Paramount, and Paramount passed on it.
We were turned down by every studio twice. Everybody said, how can you make a picture where the leading man cheats on his wife in the first 10 minutes?
Even with Michael Douglas attached to it, the subject matter was considered highly uncommercial.
This was a picture that everybody felt, well, who do you root for?
And I think we gave it to 26 directors, all of whom passed on it.
And I think a combination of tenacity on the part of Sherry and myself, not our shortest suit, and the fact that they were paying us a lot of money to make pictures and we weren't making them. So they finally conceded they'd go ahead with this picture.
Stanley Jaffe, who was a very old friend of mine, came and asked me to take a look at a screenplay. And I read it, and I thought it was a really good script. And my main comment was that I thought I had the wrong ending.
Nikki got involved when it was really going to be a movie. And there were some scenes that we felt hadn't just come alive. And there were a few scenes we felt we needed to supplement that, which we already had.
It was a really, really well-structured script, thanks to James Dearden and Nicholas Meyer.
But I have to say in the same breath that most of this movie was written by James Dearden.
Hi there. Looks good, cute.
Glad to see you haven't lost your touch.
I think she likes me.
You do,
I
huh?
think she wants
I think you're batting 0 for 2, and I don't want to know you.
No, she was undressing me with her
You
eyes.
think so? Good luck, pal.
She had trouble with the buttons.
A woman named Diane Carnes, who was an agent at ICM, gave the script to Adrian Lyne, and he was in France.
I got the script by post, and it was then called Diversion, as I remember it.
And as he says, he read it fast.
It was a page turner.
And he couldn't stop reading it.
I was sitting on the steps an hour and a half later when I finished it, and I went rushing into my wife, and I said, I've got to do this. This is wonderful.
He just thought it was fantastic.
I went to see 9.5 Weeks the day before I met with Adrian. And I thought, uh-oh. I mean, I liked the film, but it certainly wasn't the film we were going to be doing. And I went in to see him, and I said, this could be the shortest meeting in the history of the world. He said, why? I said, well, number one, I don't want the fire alarm to go off in the theater, so no smoke. And number two, we're not shooting a shoe commercial. And he grinned, he said, come in and let's talk. And that was the beginning of a real love affair.
He was as excited as we were, and he was just like saying all the things that we've been saying to each other. And so we knew we had our director.
Adrian got involved early enough to have a lot of input into the script, and late enough so that we were on our route to having the picture made.
My name is Dan Gallagher.
Alex Forrest.
Nice to meet you. What is your connection here?
I'm an editor at Robinson Heights. And you?
Well, I'm with Miller, Goodman, and Hearst. I do all your legal work. I haven't seen you around their office, though.
I've just been with him a couple of weeks.
Adrian was not afraid to explore the subject. He was not afraid to go deep underneath. And of course, visually, he's extraordinary.
Adrian, I think, he was incredibly passionate through the whole thing. I think he loved the story, and he brought a kind of heat.
He sees things, and he sees behavioral things that, you're not aware of, so he encourages that. He encourages you to get away from your mannerisms or your self-conscious quality.
Adrian brought everything to the role. I can't think of another director that would have been better suited to direct this movie, because it was about relationships going wrong and what people do to each other and infidelities and sexuality, and these are themes that have always interested him. Look at 9.5 Weeks.
I can't imagine anyone else doing this picture but Adrian.
Saying all of that, he's got an eye like a hawk.
He cared about the look, he cared about the hair. We spent hours on the shape of the lip, and it's very, very subtle.
Adrian is an absolute perfectionist. And Adrian is a person who, when he comes on the set, creates the world that you're going to visit that day.
Now, it's funny being a lawyer, it's like being a doctor. Everybody's telling you their innermost secrets.
Oh, my God. You just have to be discreet.
Oh, God, yeah.
Are you?
Am I what?
Discreet.
I kind of had an advantage in a way with Michael, because I'd worked with him over the course of about a year on a movie called Starman that I didn't end up doing. Somebody else did it.
We loved Michael for this role. We talked about others, as you do on any film. But I think if you scratch Sherry and myself, he would have been our first choice.
First of all, Michael brought to me this incredible talent, because Michael's acting is effortless. It looks effortless.
Working with Michael was great. I was actually quite a little intimidated at first.
Michael was very, very special. He's really a producer at heart. So, he kind of fathered the production as well as starred in it.
At first, I didn't know how to really communicate with him. He kept cracking these jokes that I didn't think was funny.
We had fantastic chemistry. It was very apparent that that was really going to be great between us. We really looked like a husband and wife. There was a feeling that, this was a real relationship.
What Michael brought to the character, in addition to his extraordinary talent, is incredible likability.
He's an enormously sort of sympathetic, funny, endearing person, but very real. He's like every man.
I think what was a big breakthrough for me as an actor was when you start preparing for a part, you start thinking about your character. What are you going to do? What kind of manner is it? Who's the character? And I remember having a moment where I said, wait a minute, what character? This is not about putting on the makeup, you know, not putting on the character. This is about wiping yourself clean, wiping yourself off, because I could be a lawyer in New York City, you know, I could possibly have had an affair, and this nightmare could have happened to me, which was, I think, the thing that was so instrumental.
How long have you been married?
9 years.
Do you have any kids?
Mm-hmm. Got a 6-year-old girl.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm lucky.
So what are you doing here?
Boy, you're not asking.
When Glenn's agent, Fred Spector, called Stanley and Adrian and myself and said that he wanted Glenn Close to come in, we all said, look, she is one of the most brilliant actresses in the entire world. Please don't make her come in. She's completely wrong for the part.
I'd heard that Glenn was interested in doing the movie, and I thought, well, that seems to be like the last person on earth who should be doing it.
Up until then, she had done more austere types, less sexual types.
Her image at the time was a little more wholesome, very, you know, she's attractive, clean cut, playing healthy kind of roles.
But she really pursued the film, and I think you have to sort of be influenced by that if somebody really does feel that they're right for something.
Glenn recognized what a good story and good script this was, and what a good change of pace it would be for her.
I couldn't get the story out of my head. So I went back to my agent and said, I think, you know, this might be something really worthwhile doing.
And I remember she even came in at that time to test with just a little video camera with Adrian.
Michael Douglas, of course, was going to read with her.
The first scene that we really did together, I think, was the scene in the restaurant.
First of all, she came in looking completely different. She was dressed all in black, very glamorous, and so right away she was into the part. And then she started reading these scenes with Michael. And I would say within 4 seconds you knew, but certainly within 4 minutes, you knew you had the part.
When we rehearsed, it just became obvious very quickly how lovely they were to watch together, you know, and that doesn't, again, it doesn't happen often, really.
We got a great working relationship going. I think it was a very good chemistry.
There were about 4 or 5 women we really responded to because of their acting ability. And there was something about Glenn that was just truthful.
Glenn Close is a consummate actress, and has that wonderful ability to be giggling or laughing or not worrying about her character, and then the moment you say action, she's right there.
I think there's nobody better on screen than she is. I think she is unbelievable in her ability to take on the role she's playing.
When I got the part, the first thing I did was take the script to, I think, 2 different psychiatrists, and my question was, number 1, is this behavior possible? And number 2, if it is possible, why?
What really also strikes me is the vulnerability of the character.
She's like a classic case of someone who has been sexually abused before memory.
I think Glenn brought an incredible humanity to the character, and I think a humanity that everyone can identify with.
All that behavior, even though it's never explained in the film, I never had a chance to explain the behavior. But for me, you know, it came out as something very, very real.
Not recently.
I bet you haven't.
It was the first time I'd been asked to play a sexual role. And one of the big questions that I know people asked is, well, yes, but can she be sexy?
Sex is not easy to do on film because everybody's a judge.
But it wasn't exploitive at all. It all, in my mind, it all served the story.
I think the intense sexuality is extraordinarily important.
We had our first scene, which is basically the seduction scene in the apartment, which Adrian Lyne just started to do off in the kitchen.
For a long time, he didn't know what to do in the kitchen scene when Dan and Alex first make love. You know, he would kind of be pacing around, and finally, when he came up with the kitchen sink idea with the pigeons outside the window, he you know, it's good, isn't it? Good, yeah.
The irony is what people remember is Michael Douglas and Glenn Close having sex over a sink. And it's only maybe a minute in the whole movie.
In hindsight, there wasn't that much when you think about it in a lot of pictures. but it was well done.
What really impresses me is obviously the intensity of the sexuality, but there's also great humor in the sexuality, where Michael's pants are, around his legs.
There's a scene where I'm supposedly in the act of making love with her, and I'm picking her up, and she straddled me, and I'm trying to get to the bed. And then I said, look, why don't I have my pants down, and I'm trying to waddle around to, get to the bed, and we'll get a laugh, which will let everybody relax a little bit. There's a movie and everything else, and it worked great.
Because people tend to be uncomfortable watching people having sex, is that if you don't give them something to laugh at, they will laugh at you anyway. Do you see what I'm saying? Out of embarrassment.
Oh, my God, I missed you.
Liar.
I did.
Well, I should go away more often.
I'd known Anne Archer for quite a long while before, and I just thought she was enchanting.
I already knew Adrian Lyne. I actually tested for 9.5 weeks.
Anne Archer is one of the most beautiful, beautiful women in the world.
She's a spectacular actress. And again, I think she brings this fundamental decency to every part that she does, and believability. She's the mother that every child would like to have. There's such a warmth to her.
And was perfect for this part, and was quite an attractive film wife to have.
So how was it? Oh, come on, I'm a big boy, I can take it.
It has a place for rabbits.
I always get pleasure out of watching Ellen, the kid, I always like watching her in it because kids just have this wonderful sort of effortless, especially at that age. She was 6, I think.
Adrian has a daughter. And so sitting down and interviewing children is a really interesting experience. And what you're looking for is who's comfortable, who's not acting. I mean, you get a child that comes in, you want to look for the battery sometime so you can pull it out and let them be a human being.
I just got enormous pleasure out of watching her in the movie, just because I think she was just endlessly charming. Everything she did, when she went down the corridor saying, copying her mother, saying shit, 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 shit.
Shit, shit, shit. Shit, shit, shit. Shit, shit, shit.
She was wonderful. I mean, really an amazing, natural. She didn't think about acting.
And she just had a comfort level with the actors that was wonderful.
I don't know what you're up to, but I'm gonna tell you it's gonna stop right now.
No, it's not going to stop. It's going to go on and on until you face up to your responsibilities.
What responsibilities?
I'm pregnant. I'm going to have our child.
Alex, that's your choice, honey. That has nothing to do with me.
I just want to be a part of your life.
Oh, this is the way you do it, huh? Showing up at my appointment?
What am I supposed to do? You won't answer my calls. You change your number. I mean, I'm not going to be ignored, Dan.
The funny thing is that the scene I found the most difficult was the one where I say I'll not be ignored.
Nothing is more horrible than to be ignored. And when Glenn Close says on screen, "I will not be ignored, Dan," I think that male-female relationships were changed because of the movie.
It was a hard scene for me because I was wearing that little teddy. I felt very exposed and very vulnerable.
I did not find any scenes in Fatal Attraction difficult to shoot because I love acting so much. The rabbit scene, the pot off the rabbit, I wasn't looking forward to, frankly.
What?
I was just in London for 6 months, and when I first got there and I was doing a lot of interviews, everyone kept using this expression, bunny boiler, and I didn't know what they were talking about. And evidently, it's so common in England, I don't think we use it at all over here, and they were completely shocked we don't use it over here, but it's a reference to Fatal Attraction, to that scene. If a woman is a real, come-on woman who, is going to cause a lot of trouble, she's a bunny boiler, and that's what they say.
Sorry, honey. Listen to me, Beth.
Get out! I don't want you out of here! I want you out of this house! And I want you out now! How could you do that? I hate you!
Understand what I'm saying?
I don't want to hear it! What is the matter with you?
Every time I see that movie, I didn't think at all anything about it at the time, but that line, "What's the matter with you?" Which came out of an improvisation, I find to be the most truthful thing she says.
When he tells her that he's been unfaithful, the pain, you know, that she registers in that scene.
That always is the wife's confusion. What is the matter with you? Why do you do that, you know? And I think it's the most truthful thing she says.
Gallagher?
Lieutenant?
This is Lieutenant O'Rourke, Detective Truselli, New York Homicide.
Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you.
They'd like to ask you a few questions.
Sure. Excuse me, you said homicide?
That's right.
What does this have to do with Alex Ford?
You saw her last night.
I told the lieutenant that, yes. Why? What'd she say?
She's not saying very much, Mr. Gallagher. She's dead.
The way the ending was originally in the screenplay was that he got the blame, Michael Douglas, for something he didn't do. She killed herself. She committed suicide. And that was the end of the movie.
When we shot the picture, we all liked the ending, the original ending.
The ending I wrote for Fatal Attraction, the Madame Butterfly ending, was the ending that was filmed.
It was intelligent, it was risky, and the way Adrian shot it was brilliant. But the audience was unsatisfied.
What happened is nobody could anticipate the anger that the audience had for the character that Glenn portrayed so brilliantly.
We tested the picture in Seattle, in San Francisco, and twice in Los Angeles, and you could have put a postage stamp over the reaction to the audience.
As they began to test the movie, it became apparent that audiences were really uncomfortable and unsatisfied.
The audience was on the edge of their seat, and then you would come to a certain place, and you could just feel that they weren't satisfied.
The ending just felt flat. It felt like the movie was working terrifically, you know, up until the last quarter of an hour.
And in every one of the screenings, when Anne picks the phone up and says,
If you ever come near my family again, I'll kill you, you understand?
the audience erupted. And you knew they wanted some revenge.
By then, we knew that the audience wanted Ann Archer to defend her family. We knew then that they wanted Glenn Close to die. We knew all of these things.
It was, for us, a real step back because we liked the movie we had made. But we both, or Sherry and I realized, and Adrian realized, something had to be done to make it more accessible.
And then Ned Tannen came to us and he said, you have the potential to have a movie that goes through the roof, but your message is not getting across. So I'm going to make you an offer. Shoot the ending that satisfies them, and if you don't like it, you don't have to use it.
I thought it was a joke when they came to me, when Stanley called me and said, we're going to reshoot the ending. Because for me, for all the research I had done, that's how that character would end, and that's how a lot of characters like that end. They're self-destructive and they kill themselves.
I know Glenn was, you know, diametrically opposed to changing the ending. And I understand it because it was a fabulous moment for her.
And I fought against it for 2 weeks, tooth and nail.
She was very worried about her character appearing like a kind of a one-note sort of knife-wielding villain.
But sometimes you've got to realize that a movie in a whole is more important than any one character.
And then I had done my bit and made my point, and I felt I owed it to everyone else in the film to, you know, do the ending.
And she had something to be at in Denver and was really not a happy camper that she was going to do it. But she never, you would never know it from the performance that she had any hesitation.
The more Glenn, Ann Archer, Michael, Stanley, the more we talked, the more we realized that we had to try this.
Adrian, you know, made no bones about it that the new ending that he wanted to use was in the style and in the genre of the French film Diabolique.
And listen, there's probably many better endings than we came up with, but this was an ending that was sort of operatic.
And it was a wonderful idea, and we went back to New York, and it took us 3 weeks to reshoot the ending.
And the most extraordinary person was Glenn. I mean, she has to go into that bathtub, and she can't have anything to protect her against water backing up into her head. She did it probably 50, 60 times over the course of our reshoot and never complained.
It was an all-out, you know, physically and emotionally exhausting to play a character like that. But for that reason, wonderfully cathartic.
I think it's a more satisfying ending. And I think it makes it into a more accessible movie. And I can't say I don't like, I love the ending.
I was completely surprised and shocked by the feminist reaction to the film.
I was more surprised to see myself in a tabloid as the most hated woman in America. That was a little startling. You go into a pharmacy to buy some Q-tips, and there you are, the most hated woman in America.
I was fascinated the way people took the movies so seriously.
It hit a nerve around the world as a what-if type scenario.
One of the themes that I'm the most interested in Fatal Attraction is that every action has consequences.
He was happy with Anne Archer, he was happy with Ellen, and it just happened. And that's life. And I think that's probably why people, in this case, put their feet in the shoes of the actors and identified with it, because it just happens that way.
In terms of men reacting to the movie, that didn't surprise me. I knew it would push buttons.
I think the world was ready for somebody to examine the way we were living our lives, though we didn't think we were going to be the documentarians of that.
I remember saying to a friend of mine, you will never not call a woman again after you've slept with her. You'll at least call her.
I had a whole bunch of married friends working out here in Hollywood who looked at me the next day and said, thanks a lot.
It was obviously a benefit to the picture, and it really caused a lot of debate in all parts of the world, not just in America. It was a phenomenon all over the world.
I remember flying to Arizona to do I think it was a Time magazine cover with Glenn Close. It took over.
I don't think there's any producer who makes a movie that doesn't believe it's going to do $100 million and doesn't believe that it's going to get the cover of Time magazine and win Best Picture, because that's why you do it.
You know, there are movies and they're just there, and then there are movies that take everybody by storm, and this one was one of them.
We were nominated, I think, for 6 Academy Awards, and I had dreamt my whole life of going to the Academy Awards, and I can remember what I wore, I can remember walking in, I can remember where we sat, and we lost every single award, and it was still one of the best nights of my life. I just thought it was spectacular just to be there.
My only sorrow is that Glenn didn't win, because I thought she gave an Academy Award performance.
You go through something as kind of exciting and creative as this. It's a landmark, you know, it's kind of a great passage in your life.
I feel honored to have, and privileged to have been a part of that, and it's a great memory for me.
No special effects, contemporary story, no green screens, nothing. Just a story about people, everyday people in a situation, and I love that, and I'm very proud of that.